When Neo smiled that morning, Jiho knew today was going to matter. Not because the event, but because Neo is the day herself. Welcome to part 9 of Neo and Jiho. Today's greetings goes to Nambuyaselo MD Luli and Lydia Dumas. Thank you very much for joining with membership. When their picnic began, Jiho was already watching Neo with a quiet smile as she laid out the last container of sliced fruit. The park around them whispered with birdsong, and sunlight filtered through the leaves like scattered gold. Jiho had arranged everything: the blanket, the food, even a small Bluetooth speaker playing gentle jazz in the background. He wanted this day to be simple but unforgettable. He reached into the basket and pulled out a small, well-worn book. It was a conversation starter, filled with questions meant to spark laughter, curiosity, and sometimes deeper things. He looked at Neo. "Let's make this fun," he said, tapping the cover of the book. "We'll each pick a number, randomly, and ask whatever question is on that page. If you don't answer—" He paused for effect. "You get a punishment." Neo narrowed her eyes playfully. "Punishment?" "Nothing serious," Jiho smirked. "Just, maybe you get tickled, or you have to feed me 3 grapes in a row with your eyes closed. Things like that." "Deal," she grinned. "Okay," Jiho said, flipping open the book. "You first, pick a number." 17. He found the page. "Who do you call when everything goes wrong?" He looked at her, already guessing the answer. Neo didn't hesitate. "Tumi, my sister. She's my everything." Jiho smiled, then listened closely as she added, "Our parents died when we were young. We grew up with our aunt, but she passed away too. Since then, it's just been me and Tumi. She's studying nursing in Botswana. I'm 3 years older, but sometimes she acts like she's the elder." Jiho's heart softened. He could see the quiet strength in Neo's eyes, the weight she carried with love and grace. There was a time in his life he'd thought strength was loud, but Neo showed him the kind of strength that was quiet, resilient, and radiant. "My turn," she said. "Pick a number." Jiho scanned the pages. 34. Neo read it aloud. "Who raised you?" Jiho leaned back on his palms. "My grandmother. My father died when I was still a baby. My mother, she left not long after. I was too young to remember the day, but I remember growing up always looking at the door, just in case she came back. But my grandmother, she gave me everything. She was tough but warm. She believed in me even when I didn't." Neo nodded slowly, absorbing his words. Then she said, "I think we understand each other more than we thought." A soft breeze passed between them. Jiho flipped to the next page. "Question time," he said. "How many children would you want to have someday?" Neo smiled instantly. "I do want children. 2, maybe 3. Twins would be sweet and wild, but I'd love them. I want to be the kind of mother who listens, who's present. I want our children to feel safe with me. Always." Jiho's gaze didn't leave her face. He watched the way she smiled at the thought, the way her fingers played with the edge of the blanket. Inside his chest, something surged. Not just admiration, it was deeper. The image of Neo holding a child, his child, gripped his thoughts. He could see her in the kitchen with flour on her cheeks, their children clinging to her legs, laughter echoing around the room. His heart whispered, "That's the kind of woman I'd want to build a home with." Still holding the book, Jiho said, "I want 3 or 4. I used to say I didn't care, but now—" He smiled slowly. "Now I imagine a life. Children running in the hallway, one of them asking me to tie their shoe while another paints on the walls. I want to be the dad who builds blanket forts and dances in the kitchen." Neo's chest fluttered. She didn't just hear his words. She felt them in her soul. Jiho wasn't speaking hypothetically. His eyes spoke of dreams, real dreams, the kind you protect. Her body responded with quiet warmth. She felt it in her belly, in the soft clenching of her fingers. She leaned slightly forward without realizing it, drawn to him. Her eyes locked onto his, just for a second too long. Their gazes held and time seemed to pause. In that silence, wrapped in sun and air and something much deeper, both Jiho and Neo were lost in a private thought. This is more than a game, more than a picnic. This is the beginning of something holy. Neo quickly changed the subject, flipping to another page. Your turn again. All right, Jiho said. What do you hate most in a relationship? Both of them answered in unison. Broken trust. They laughed. I guess we've both lived through that, Neo said. Jiho nodded but didn't press. Instead, he reached for a grape and offered it to her. You've answered bravely. Here's your prize. She accepted it, biting gently from his hand. And when her lips brushed his fingers, Jiho's breath caught in his chest. Neo leaned back. Punishment time? For what? You asked and answered your own question. Jiho raised an eyebrow. Fine. What's the punishment? She lunged forward, tickling him suddenly. He burst into laughter, falling back onto the blanket. Okay, he laughed. Mercy! Neo sat over him, laughing too hard to speak. Jiho stared up at her, the sun behind her creating a halo of light. Her smile was all he could see. He reached up slowly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. Your turn, he whispered. She flipped the book again. What do you think keeps a relationship strong? Neo answered first. God. When both people believe in something bigger than their emotions, I think faith can ground us when we're lost. Jiho nodded thoughtfully. For me, it's choosing the person even on the hard days. Not because they're perfect, but because they're yours. Neo looked down, hiding her smile. Jiho leaned closer. You make it easy to believe in that. She looked up. So do you. The picnic faded into gentle silence again. Not empty, but full. Full of what wasn't said. What didn't need to be. In a few moments, Jiho reached for the bicycle. Want to go for a ride? Neo blinked. Like, on the same bicycle? Yep. Soon they were on the path. Jiho pedaled slowly, Neo seated in front, her hands gripping the side handlebars. Her laughter spilled into the air, and Jiho's eyes watched her profile, the curve of her smile, the flutter of her dress in the wind. He felt it again, the overwhelming peace of having her this close. She's not just someone I'm spending the day with, he thought. She's the day itself. They rode in loops, then circled back. She hopped off and chased him through the grass when he teased her about being scared of bugs. They both fell, breathless, laughing. And then Jiho rolled over, pinned her gently to the blanket again, their laughter slowing into silence. Their eyes met and stayed. Whatever this was, it had already begun. As they picked up the remains of their picnic, the golden light from the sky seemed to dim gently, as if it too didn't want the day to end. Jiho folded the blanket while Neo carefully returned the half-eaten fruits and cutlery into the picnic basket. Their fingers brushed briefly over the same piece of cloth, and Jiho looked at her, smiling in that quiet way that made Neo feel safe. She smiled back, cheeks glowing softly. Everything had been perfect, but Jiho had one more idea. He took a deep breath and turned toward her, his voice casual but filled with something more intimate. Let's go to my grandmother's place for evening tea. She cooks better than anyone I know. Neo hesitated for a second. Then her face lit up with a warm, thoughtful expression. Tea sounds lovely, Jiho, but... She paused, her brows drawn together slightly. I don't have a gift for your grandmother. Jiho chuckled gently. You don't need one. Just being you is enough. But Neo's mind was already searching for an idea. Do you have a picture of your grandmother in your wallet? She asked softly. Jiho looked puzzled, but pulled out his wallet and opened it. There it was, a small, time-worn photograph of his grandmother smiling in front of her garden. Always keep this with me, he said. A light flickered in Neo's eyes. I want to draw her as a gift. It would mean something original, personal. Jiho stared at her, the corners of his mouth twitching with amazement. Something tugged inside his chest. Her thoughtfulness had no limit. She was like light, warm, effortless, and blindingly kind. Without hesitation, he took out his phone and called the butler. "Bring a sketchboard, paper, and pencils. Drive down to the park. Neo needs them." As they waited, Jiho lay back on the blanket, head resting on one arm, eyes watching Neo as she sat upright, knees folded under her, lips slightly parted in concentration. Her fingers moved fast and sure, breathing life into the paper. It took only 20 minutes. When Neo was done, she handed him the drawing. Jiho took it with both hands like it was sacred. It was breathtaking. "Neo," he whispered, "this is her." She smiled gently, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "I hope she likes it." But Jiho couldn't take his eyes off her. The drawing was perfect, yes, but the woman who had drawn it was something else. He looked at her like a man realizing he'd found something he never thought he could deserve. "You know you'll start working at the company very soon, right?" he said quietly, as though sharing a secret. Neo blinked. "Working?" Jiho laughed at her expression. "Of course. You'll grow with me at the company. I can't even imagine being 2 hours away from you. That's already too much." Neo tilted her head, her eyes wide and glowing. "But Korean? I mean, the language?" Jiho leaned closer. "You can choose. We can start with a Korean tutor from home, or if you prefer, I'll enroll you in a language school. You get to pick what makes you feel more comfortable." Her heart beat a little faster. He was thinking about her future. Their future. He wasn't pushing. He was guiding, walking beside her. She reached out, placed her hand over his. "Then I want to grow with you, too." They packed the rest of the things and got into the car. Jiho held the drawing carefully in a folder. As they drove toward his grandmother's house, he kept glancing at Neo, wondering what force had made their paths cross. At the door, grandmother greeted them with a wide smile and open arms. She took Neo's hand gently, studying her face as if trying to read her soul. "It's so good to finally meet you," she said. Neo smiled back. "It's so good to finally meet you," she said. Neo smiled back. "I've heard so much about you, grandmother." After they had tea and some warm food, Neo reached into the folder and presented the portrait. Grandmother gasped. Her hands trembled as she took it, her eyes pooling with emotion. She stared at the image for a long time before whispering, This is me." Neo nodded. "It was Jiho's photo. I wanted you to have something special." The old woman placed the picture on the table and walked around to Neo, placing her wrinkled hands gently on her shoulders. "You are a blessing. Jiho," she turned to him. "She's the one. I see it. I feel it. I entrust you to her." Jiho swallowed, the lump in his throat pressing hard. "After Yura, I thought I would never see you smile like this again," Grandmother continued. "You were so lost. But now I see joy." Neo reached for her hand. "Thank you for welcoming me." As they walked out to the car later, Grandmother quietly called Jiho into the kitchen. "She must learn our language," she said simply. Jiho nodded. "She will. I've already planned for a tutor." The old woman smiled. "That's how she'll walk beside you, not behind." Outside, Jiho helped Neo into the car and slid in beside her. As the car pulled away, Jiho took her hand in his. "I want to grow every part of my life with you," he said softly. "Work, love, dreams." Neo leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then teach me. I want to walk beside you." The car disappeared into the soft night, two hearts aligned.